Hello to everyone and welcome to the YouTube channel School for All. This is tutorial number 25 of our C programming training. Now, in this tutorial, we are going to study something very important, which is arrays in C. Arrays in C. This is something that is very important. Take note of that. Arrays in C. Now, majority of the problem that you will be solving, you are going to use arrays. It's true that June 26, it's not really necessary to use arrays in the question that came in June 26, but majority of past years, whether it's June 24, 25, and so on, you people are using arrays. So manipulating array is something that you need to know. Very important. So my aim in this tutorial is to break down everything, like you understand arrays and you are really able to manipulate it without any difficulty. Now, so the first thing is, what is an array? What is an array? So an array is a collection of elements of the same data type. When you talk about the same data types, you people know the meaning of that. Data type are just used to represent the kind of variable that we are using. Now data type here we have what? We have char, we have integer, we have float, and so on. So when we say an array is a collection of elements of the same data type, it simply means that just see an array as a container having multiple elements, and all the different elements in that container must be of the same type. So it's not possible to have an element like a character mixed with a number inside the same container. No, it's not possible. So this is the first relevant information I want you to note concerning arrays. Now the next point, they say instead of creating multiple variables, example a1, a2, a3, we can store all values in one array. So this point is also very important. Let me just illustrate something. Here. Now at this level, look at something. See an array as a container, something like this. This is my container here, and this container have different locations. It's just like in memory, where I am able to store elements of the same data type. Like I can just say that, okay, this array is an array of integers. So I'm just storing integers inside. I can store maybe 4, 3, 10, let us say 12, 20. Let us say this array in fact used to store ages of people. Good. So this is my integer here. So this is the first relevant information they are talking about. Now the next thing they say, imagine that you are to store all these elements in the memory using multiple variables. Like you go and declare a variable called a1 to store 4, another variable called a2 to store 3, another variable called a4 to store 10, and so on and so forth. So in this case, you may not really see the problem, but imagine that you want to store 100 integers. In this case, are you going to declare 100 variables to store each integer? No. So from there now you are seeing the importance of an array, because with an array you are just declaring one thing. What you are declaring is the array itself, and that array now can contain the total number of elements that you precise when you be doing your declaration. So this is one advantage of array that you need to understand. And generally when you have a question, it's not like every time they must actually use an array. No. By the moment you think that you are supposed to use an array, use the array. Like this small example, imagine that I ask you to collect 10 numbers from the user, calculate the sum of the 10 numbers and display the result. So you are seeing that solving this type of problem, if you go and declare 10 variables, collecting the 10 values from the user before summing them and displaying the result, is too long for nothing. So a student that master array can decide that, okay, yeah, since I'm collecting 10 elements, I'm going to declare an array that can contain the 10 elements. So that from then he's going to collect all the elements and sum the thing and so on and so forth. So these are the type of problems you are going to solve for a beginning, so that you understand how arrays work in fact. Now so it's okay, let us move back to the note. So I just wanted you people to understand why are we studying array. Array is solving which type of problem. I think from here it's clear. You are seeing the problem array is solving. So array is just avoiding us from declaring too many variables to collect data from the user. So we continue. It's not all. Now the next relevant information here is they say each element of an array can be accessed using an index or subscript. When I'm putting subscript here, this word is not negligible, it's very important, especially paper 1 question. You may see subscript and not index. In that case, you need to understand that they're talking about what? Index. So this is how you access element of an array. Now, how are the index represented? Let me just show it here very fast. If I come back to this, generally this is how you represent the index. So on top of my array, I'm going to start from the first element here, and generally index start at 0. So I'm going to say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what you're supposed to understand is when I say index start at 0, this is in C programming. Meaning generally when you are working in algorithm, you can start your index at 1. Majority of the algorithm you will see they are starting bit at 1. Meaning that you will see an array like this and the first element is at position 1, the second is at position 2, 3, 4, and 5. But generally in C programming, we are not starting at 1. No, we are starting but at 0. So see this index as the position of an element in the array. So take note of that, and never forget that in C programming it starts at 0, and in algorithm generally we start at 1. So I'm just saying this so that the day you are working, don't go and see something starting at 1 and you are lost. No, don't be lost. Be understanding that okay, maybe it's in algorithm and so on and so forth. Because remember that there's one type of question that we are going to answer together when we be done with this course of C programming. This question in fact are how to translate algorithms into C programming, because majority of your past DC equations, this is how they ask questions. So I have so many videos in fact under past DC equations on this YouTube channel. You can watch them. June 24, 25, 23. I've solved all these questions already. So when you go and watch these videos, you'll be seeing exactly how they ask DC equation, and you realize that majority of the equation you people have an algorithm and you need to translate that into C programming. That's even the reason why I'm doing this C programming training, because it's very difficult to translate an algorithm when there are some concepts you don't master. So that's the problem there. So please follow the right method to study. Okay, so I think at this level index is clear. So remember that these are index, good indexes, or let me just say index. Okay, you understanding. Now I continue. The next thing inside my notes, and remember that this document is available on School for All apps, so you can download it there. Now, I was saying something. Okay, look here. Instead, look here. Instead of declaring variable like this, like in mark, like here, this is an example. I want to collect 3 marks from the user. So instead of saying that int mark 1, int mark 2, int mark 3, and so on and so forth, I prefer to use bird an array. Look at how we declare array. So I'm going to discuss about the declaration of array and so on and so forth, but this is just an idea for you to see how things work. Like here we are declaring an array of integers. That is why you see at this position here you have what? You have the data type, which is int. After having this data type, you have max. Max here represent what we call the name of the array. Now you realize something. Beside the name of the array, there is a square bracket with a value inside. That value represent what we call the size of the array. The size here simply means the number of elements that array can store. It's exactly that. So since here I'm creating an array that can store 3 integers, that is why here the size of my array is 3. And I think I've explained everything in my note. If you look under here, you will see. Now under you will see something very important. Indexing start at 0 in C, as precise in C. Take note of that, very important. Now we continue. Now, why are we using arrays? This one thing you need to know. The first one is organize related data in one variable. So this one we are clear, because with an array I can collect even 100 elements from a user without declaring 100 variable. I can just declare just a single variable and do so. So we are going to see how to do this type of thing. The next one is easier to process data using loops. Now yes, to process, because students may think that like with a variable, look at something with variable, if you are calculating the sum of 10 elements that you have declared, maybe 10 variables. Let us say you have declared 10 variables A, B, C, D, E, and so on and so forth. So generally to calculate the sum here, you will do what? You will do A plus B plus C plus D and so on and so forth. So you are seeing that here it's not really nice, because if you have 400 variables, you will do that for 100 variables, this plus this plus this and so on. Or with arrays, it's not working like that. With arrays, you are going to use for loops to handle anything you are trying to do, whether we are calculating sums, whether we are collecting numbers from users, whether we are doing this, we are going to use for loop. we are going to use for loops here. So when I say loops here, I mean for loops, because generally we use for loops to manipulate arrays. So we are coming there. The next thing is save memories and make the program cleaner. So this one we can agree about that. So very important in algorithm and exam question. So take note of things like that. Now we continue. The next thing, types of arrays in C, very important. Here we have two types normally that we are going to study in advanced level. Now the third type here, multidimensional array, generally is not for advanced level students. Now take note, here we have one-dimensional array and a two-dimensional array. So the first relevant information is that you cannot study two-dimensional array without passing through one-dimensional array. That is why in this video we are going to work on one-dimensional array, and in other videos in fact we are going to discuss about two-dimensional array. But let me just give you an overview of how it look like. So what you are seeing here is what we call a one-dimensional array. So one-dimensional array is just having a single row like this. So this is just one row and it's made up of multiple columns. Now a two-dimensional array is what we call a matrix. Matrix here simply means we have multiple rows and we have multiple columns. So this is exactly what we call a two-dimensional array. It simply means that when we are going to handle this situation of two-dimensional array, we are going to solve exercises like calculating the sum of matrices, how to do multiplication of matrix, subtraction of matrix, and we are going to do that together in C programming. But generally what I like with computer science is that we don't really disturb students. Meaning what, if there is a question asking you to calculate the sum of two matrices, what happens is the question will describe how sums works, you see. But meaning what, the question is not assuming that you know how to do the sum of the matrices. No, the question will describe how sum of matrices work before now asking you to write the program and so on and so forth. So generally this is how computer science questions are. They are not assuming something, they describe everything for you and you just reason, use the C programming knowledge that you have and write the program. Now so we continue, we go back. So this is just an overview, but we are going to study them in detail. Now here we start one-dimensional array in C. So 1G here means one-dimensional array. So take note, a 1G array is a single row of elements, all of the same type, stored consecutively. Now I think we are clear with that. So this is here, stored consecutively simply means that they are stored in a sequential manner. So we continue. The next thing, declaring a one-dimensional array. So take note of this one, declaring a one-dimensional array. So to do so generally is very easy. So here, this is the syntax. Precise your data type. After data type, you just give the name of the array, you put your square bracket and you put the size. Very, very important. There is something you need to understand, that an array is what we call a static data structure, because besides array there is also what we call linked list. I have videos note on that data structure on the School for All application. So if you are blank concerning data structure, please go and watch my videos, because data structure is another aspect of computer science that is very, very important, not negligible. And under data structure there are things like arrays, there are things like linked lists, there are things like record, and so on and so forth. So one difference between a linked list and an array is that an array is a static data structure and a linked list is a dynamic data structure. Meaning what? Before using an array, you need to fix the size of the total number of elements you are supposed to store. Whereas with a linked list, it's not working like that. Linked list, when you say dynamic data structure, it simply means that there we don't fix size. There you create a space depending on the number of data you are storing. So if today I'm storing 4 elements, I create a space just for the 4 elements. If tomorrow I want to add another element, I create a new space for that one element, and so on and so forth. Or with array, it's not working like that. But under my notes on data structure, I'm giving other differences, and I'm really explaining the difference between the two in a clear manner. So here I'm just rushing because our aim is to see how to implement arrays in C programming. I'm not here to explain everything concerning arrays here. No, we are at the level of implementation. So go and register on School for All app and make sure you watch the videos on data structure. So I think at this level of declaration and so on, everything is clean. Now we can move. Example. So this is an example here. I'm declaring an array called max. So this is the name of the array, max. a square bracket, you have what? 5 of type integer. So if they ask you in the exam that interpret this instruction, it's very clear the interpretation. So this instruction is doing what? This instruction is declaring an array called max that can store 5 integers. Full stop. Now, I think I've even explained it here. The next one is initialization of a one-dimensional array. Now let me just come and do it somewhere here. Now, in C programming, generally when you make something like int a semicolon, what you are doing in reality is you are reserving a space in the memory location called what? A. This is what you are doing. So this declaration, and after declaring, if you want to initialize this variable a, you come and do what? A equals to, you initialize with your variable. Let us say 4. You write 4 here. Simply means for that in the location a you are storing what? 4. So this for normal integers. Now the question is, how is this working for arrays? Now this is how we declare arrays. In fact, you know it already. Let us say I'm declaring an array in max taking 5 elements. So doing something like this, in reality, what are you doing in the memory? In the memory, you are reserving what? 5 locations at once, like this. This is what you are doing in the memory. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the indexes start at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this one, at this level, in fact, you are just creating an empty array. Now the next thing is how to store elements in the array. Now you are going to see the different methods. For now, like, you are talking about what? Initialization. How to initialize, like you are doing for A. Because after initialization, we are going to study also how to fill the array by taking elements from the user. But for now, let us see how the initialization works. So initialization, here we have 2 methods. The first method is you write the name of the array. Now, since each location of an array is identified by an index, it simply means that if you come at this level, you write the name of the array, you write the index, and you close this bracket, you do equals. So if I put maybe 4 here, it simply means what? That at location 0, at position 0, I'm storing the element what? 4. So this is how we fill an array. If I come down again, I say max square bracket, I put maybe 3 here, I close like this, I write something like 5. This means what? That okay, at position 3 of my array max, store 5. So this position 3, I'm storing what? 5. So this is exactly how the initialization works. So you can do same. If you want to store something at location 1, you do the same thing. So I think you have seen how it works. But you realize that this method is, I can say, very long. Why? Because imagine that you have an array of 100 elements. Are you going to do this? Are you going to do this thing for the 100 element? Meaning max of 0, you store this max of 1, max of 2, and so on and so forth. It's too long. So this is another method of initializing the array. By doing something like this, you just write the name of the array, max. In bracket, you put the size at 1. The size here is what? Is 5, because the size represents the total number of elements we can store, not the last index here. Because sometimes students are confused. They think that the last index represents the size. No. The size is the total number of elements you can store. Good. And what happens here? I'm going to say max of 5 is equal to, you open your brace and you list your different elements. So I can say 4, 3, 2, I don't know, 10, 20, you close your brace. So this is another method of initializing. So by doing so, in fact, we are saying what? That max of 0 should take 4. Max of 1 should take 3, and so on and so forth. I think people are understanding this. So you have 2 methods of initializing an array. So very nice. So let us move back to the notes. Okay. So all what I'm saying, I think you can observe it here. So the first thing is see here I'm initializing using this method. So I say in max, I precise my size equals to, I open my brace and I list my different elements. So this is one way of doing so. Now, and from here, if you look under here, you realize something. Max of 0 is equals to what? Is equals to 50. Max of 1 is equals to what? 60, and so on and so forth. So people are understanding how these things works already. Nice. Now we continue. So method 2 of initializing, this method 2 here, exactly what I was explaining. So you're seeing that this method is what is longer compared to the other one. Now the next thing, how to access element of an array. So generally, to access element of an array, we are using what? We are using this same square brackets method. Meaning what? Look at something. So this is how we do so. Print, for example, this is my printf. Here I'm saying what? First element. Here you are seeing percentage %g simply because, take note of that place. Here you are seeing percentage %g, because you are trying to display an integer. So after that, you do it normally like you are doing with a variable, just that at this level here, take note of that, at this level you are not going to write the name of variable as you are used to, but you write something like this: max square bracket 0 simply means what? That you are printing the element that is found at position 0 of your array. But you are seeing that when you are doing something like this, you are just displaying one element. Imagine that you want to display 100 elements. Are you going to write 100 printf for Mark 0, Mark 1, Mark 2, and so on and so forth? No, this is now the importance of loops. We are really moving gradually. I'm showing you why we are introducing new concepts. So the next thing that we are supposed to study together is using loops with one-dimensional arrays. Very, very important. It's difficult to manipulate arrays without using a loop. And the loops that we are going to use here is a for loop. I think this video is long. We are going to end here. So in the next video, we are starting the practicals with arrays, in fact. So we are going to solve a small problem using the C programming software. So if you have enjoyed this tutorial, just leave a comment. If you have any question, any worry, leave a comment. If there's something disturbing you, just watch the next video on practicals. From there, you'll be clearing your doubt and see how things work in reality. So thank you, and this is where we are ending. Ciao.